Hi everyone. You will be amazed by the real story of Jessica Alba and Cash Warren's nearly 17-year marriage. You could think that their relationship was perfect because they seemed to have it all: a beautiful family, a successful business, and a famous Hollywood lifestyle. I can assure you, though, that we cannot ignore the many warning indicators that were there during the trip. This was no romantic fairy tale. Their relationship has been a volatile disaster amid accusations of infidelity, jealousy, and one particularly unforgettable sneeze. Stay to the very end because you won't want to miss the amazing twists and turns that occurred in Jessica and Cash's marriage. Let's start the crazy journey of this partnership. Jessica Alba's path to fame wasn't a simple one. Growing up in a pious Catholic household, Jessica often felt limited and misunderstood. She was only a teenager when she first became aware of the tension between her rising fame and her family's rigid expectations. At 11, Jessica was starting to experience the negative effects of puberty and wasn't sure how to handle them. She claimed in an interview that she became uneasy when males began to approach her, particularly older ones. Even worse, she thought her youth pastor was blaming her attire for the attention she was getting. Jessica says she tried to blend in and divert this unwanted attention from her body shape by eating less and acting more like a man. The pressure to meet these expectations caused Jessica to suffer, but it also set the stage for a complicated relationship history marked by a lack of clarity about one's identity and worth. Jessica was able to let go of her religious background when she decided to give acting a try. When she earned her first role in Camp Nowhere 1994 at the age of 13, her career really took off. But Jessica lost sight of her Catholic roots as her acting career took off. After pursuing her acting career, I realized that the church was no longer the best place for me because my church friends didn't understand my roles, she stated. When Jessica was cast in the television series Dark Angel 2000 at the age of 18, it was a major turning point in her career. There, she also met 31-year-old actor Michael Weatherly. Jessica admits that Weatherly was the first person she ever dated and felt a strong connection with. In hindsight, she saw how challenging their connection was due to their 2003 separation and stark age difference. In a subsequent interview, she stated that she realized she couldn't be with someone unless they were genuinely compatible and that the many outside factors actresses have to contend with made their relationships difficult. After her breakup with Weatherly, Jessica was linked to several other famous men, including Mark Wahlberg and Derek Jeter. But she also went through a turbulent time when she tested out a lot of relationships without committing to any of them. In her own words, she didn't mind one-night encounters because she viewed them as a free way to experiment with her sexuality without feeling emotionally invested. During this difficult period, Jessica found her identity and became comfortable dating other people. She seemed to be on a quest to find herself rather than to find anything important at the moment. Jessica's life drastically changed in 2004 when she met Cash Warren on the set of Fantastic Four. Cash was a production assistant at the time. While working behind the scenes, he flirted with Jessica and attempted to approach her. Cash even went into her trailer to take a picture of her wearing colorful contact lenses for the movie. Despite their early banter, Jessica quickly realized that he was unique. The issue is that this wasn't only a fad because Cash was already committed to someone else at the time, but as is common in Hollywood, Jessica was also dating someone else at the time, and their meeting would lead to one of the most amazing romances. Even in partnerships, they couldn't deny their chemistry. Cash wrote to Jessica, "I really, really like you," and he signed it with a money sign. After only meeting him, Jessica admitted that she fell in love with him right away, and they were both enamored. Now let's start pointing out those red flags. Despite being in a committed relationship, it was clear that Cash was still seeing Jessica and conducting an affair. That is a really poor indicator in and of itself, but it didn't stop there. After ending her romance with her older fiancé, Jessica fell in love with a charming man who was still working backstage in Hollywood. Even though Jessica immediately felt a connection, her decision to start this relationship rapidly aroused curiosity. Another interesting element is Cash's reaction on their first date night. When Cash had an allergic reaction and sneezed in Jessica's mouth, their date night at a fancy restaurant took an odd turn. He sneezed into her mouth, you read rye. As their romance progressed, they both grew increasingly jealous. At first, Cash openly envied other men's interest in Jessica. He even admitted that the attention she received made him feel insecure. Even after their brief separation, the jealousy remained. Cash later acknowledged that he felt terrible about it and that he frequently struggled with envy. Nevertheless, despite their ongoing issues, Jessica and Cash eventually got back together. Their second phase of love seemed to be even more turbulent. After just a few months of dating, Cash, who usually pushed for a quick connection, even made a marriage proposal. Jessica wasn't entirely sure, though, that it was a good idea to be married so young. They became engaged a few years later, and shortly after, they welcomed their first child into the world. However, the issues continued. Jessica's pregnancy wasn't always simple. In an interview, she openly admitted that she had already kicked Cash out of the house multiple times during her pregnancy. When Cash claimed it was only hormones, Jessica didn't trust him. She immediately identified the problems she already perceived in their relationship. In May 2008, following a tumultuous few months, Jessica inquired if Cash had any meetings that morning. That's when things started to change. When she proposed marriage, Cash only said, "Okay, let's give this some thought. I mean, it doesn't seem very romantic." Jessica consented to what was essentially a let's just do it moment, possibly due to pressure from their relationship and her pregnancy. The wedding was far from perfect. Jessica subsequently called the wedding laughably low-key and awkward. There were only a few phony flowers and a dusty courthouse, no friends or family. Is there anyone who can see the warning signs? Even after marriage, things were difficult. A few months after their marriage, Cash and Lindsay Lohan were seen making out in public at a nightclub. Many people took notice when they saw Cash with Lindsay, despite Jessica's public denial of the adultery allegations. There have been allegations of infidelity previously, so this would not be the first. However, Cash's actions remained unchanged. He was notorious for getting into trouble when out with friends, so Jessica had to put up with him a lot. She was attempting to strike a balance between her personal life and her lucrative career, but Cash seemed to be a constant source of worry. Jessica seemed to have changed over time into the envious spouse. She freely admitted in interviews that she would lose her mind around attractive folks. Even the little things, like the attention Cash's co-stars could receive, made her jealous, she admitted. She had once detested this particular element of their relationship. It became clear that the envy game, which was still very much in play, was weakening their already precarious basis. In 2024, things started to change. The happy couple now seemed more like roommates than lovers. As they struggled to find time for each other, it became harder to ignore the issues in their relationship. Jessica asserted that they had stopped acknowledging one another's emotions and were merely going through the motions. It became evident that something significant was wrong when Jessica began writing about her power era and prioritizing her profession over her marriage. Much attention was drawn to the fact that Jessica and Cash had taken off their wedding bands. It appeared to be over this time, even though the two had endured a great deal of suffering. A few days after a successful day at Universal Studios, in January 2025, Jessica and Cash broke up, according to TMZ. They were on the verge of divorcing after almost 17 years of marriage. Why did that happen? Was it envy? The never-ending drama? Or was it only the realization that they were incompatible? The warning signs had always been there, no matter where they came from. The romance between Jessica Alba and Cash Warren was almost impossible to follow because of all the warning signs. The jealousy, alleged adultery, odd health issues, and miserable marriage made their story anything than perfect. It was clear that the years of accumulated issues were too much for their marriage to manage, despite the highs and lows of their passion. So, what do you think? Do you think the warning flags were too obvious, or do you think there is more to the story? Tell us in the space provided for comments below. Remember to like and subscribe for more in-depth information about Hollywood, relationships, and celebrity issues. Thank you for seeing, and I hope to see you in the upcoming video.